we have Mr. Thomas Edison and his wife, Mina. Now, Mr. Edison is, if you don't know this, I'm going to be shocked, the foremost inventor who has over 1,000 patents. And we hope you will welcome, I can hear you applauding already, Mr. and Mrs. Thomas Edison. Mr. Edison.
Thank you, Wayne. It's very nice for Mina and I to be here with you today at Henry Ford Village in this year of 1925. Now, we don't have any speeches for you, but rather we understand that you have some questions about our family and about my inventions, and we'd be happy to answer those. Now, we like to be orderly, so we've asked that you number your questions, and then we'll take them in order. Now, when you ask your question, would you first tell us your first name so we can get a little better acquainted, and then tell us who your question is for, and then ask your question. It's very straightforward. So let's get started. Who has question number one? Who are you? And who is it for?
Hi, Mr. Edison. I'm Jen Sillage. I have a question for you. When did you set up your first laboratory and where did you get the money for it?
Pardon me, Jen, but I have a hearing loss. I heard something about money, but that's about all I heard. Could you please repeat the question for me?
Absolutely. When did you set up your first laboratory and where did you get the money for it?
Oh, my first laboratory, and where did I get the money? Is Jen always this nosy, asking me about my finances? Well, actually, Jen, it is a good question. I set up my first laboratory when I was 12 years old. See, I was a newsboy on the train between my home in Port Huron and Detroit, and I used to sell newspapers and candy on the train and at the stations. Well, there was a lot of wasted time between the stops, and I don't like to waste time, Jen. So I brought a small table into the baggage car where I kept my papers and started bringing in chemicals. And I had quite a laboratory, I must say, for a 12-year-old until one day I knocked over a bottle of phosphorus and darn near burned up the baggage car. Well, that was my first laboratory. But I imagine you're interested in my first professional laboratory, Jen. Bear with me, I'm an old man, I'll get there. When I was about 23, I was a telegraph operator and lived in different parts of the country. I heard that the New York Stock Exchange was unhappy with one of their ticker tapes. So using my telegraphy knowledge, I designed one that I thought was better, and I took it to the stock exchange and they liked it. They paid me a nice sum of money for it. But even more important is I started a company to manufacture those teletypes. So Jen, that's how I got the money for my first professional laboratory. Now that was in Newark, New Jersey. Well, we soon outgrew that and moved down the road to a place called Menlo Park, New Jersey. Now that's where I did most of my inventing. As you probably know, I have over 1,000 patents, and some people wanted to call me the Wizard of Menlo Park. But you don't see any pointy wizard hat on me, do you? No, I'm not a wizard, Jen. I'm just a man who likes to tinker. So I think that answers your question about my first laboratory. Who has the next question and who is it for?
My name is Liz, and my question is for you.
Okay.
Will you tell us about how you met Mr. Edison?
Oh, you want to know how I met Thomas? Well, we met through family friends, the Gillilands in Boston. Edison's first wife, Mary, had passed away and he was a widower. So the Gillilands would invite him to visit them periodically. Well, during one meeting, he mentioned he would like to find a wife and mother for his children. So Mrs. Gilliland played the matchmaker, and they would invite young ladies to meet their famous guest. Well, one time I was the invited guest. Now, I heard later that Thomas was quite impressed with me at our first meeting, thinking I'm very mature for my 20 years. Now, Edison is 20 years older than I am, so he was 40 to my 20. But I also found him more interesting than other eligible and much younger men who were interested in courting me. When I moved back to Ohio, Thomas began writing to me. We corresponded, and he would even visit our family in Chautauqua. That was the Methodist Cultural Summer Camp my father helped, or actually my father co-founded, and it's in New York State. And now, as you notice, Thomas has a hearing loss. So he taught me Morse code. We would then be able to talk in private or anytime that I would not have to talk loudly. While we were on a road trip with some friends, he proposed to me by way of Morse code, tapping his proposal into my hand. I replied my yes answer into his, providing, of course, that he obtained approval from my father, which he did. And we were married the following February, less than a year from the time we met. I wonder if any of you young ladies have been proposed to by Morse code. So far, I have not found another woman that has. I suppose I might someday, but I rather doubt it.